I worked public affairs for September 11th in a variety of different positions. I worked it on and off for about a year and a half. From a public affairs standpoint, we had to get out information to those that had been impacted that lived in Lower Manhattan and those that potentially could receive assistance from FEMA, and it was hard. So at the time, the New York Times was your local media source. You had terrorism going on, you had anthrax going on, you had families still looking for their family members. The media and just the sheer volume of information that was out there, and to try to cut through that was really hard. So at different phases of the disaster, we did easy things like the 800 number for the registration to get help on the NASDAQ. When we were working later on, I designed a poster that went into about 3/4 of the subway cars. We worked with the New York Transit Authority and got those in the subway cars across the city to get the information out. In those ways, we had to really think outside of traditional media. Some of the things that now, 20 years later, we do some of those things. 20 years ago, we didn't do those things. Everything was very gray, it was dusty, steel, big, huge steel beams. And I remember walking through and thinking that you should see desks and chairs because of all of the office spaces. And there was none of that. And as we were walking the one day, I looked down and I saw a red high heel shoe. And it hit me really hard because I wondered who it belonged to and what was the story behind that person who it had belonged to. But normally you didn't see stuff like that. It was just a big pile of debris that they had to work through to try to find remnants and clear it as they did. So I think a couple things that come to mind for the impact of the agency. Obviously, we used to pay more attention to natural disasters. We look at all hazards now, and that's a natural thing that across the whole agency we plan for, we work. DHS came to be. So prior to that, we were an independent small agency, and FEMA has grown dramatically in the last few years given the scope and the things that we continue to tackle. DHS came into being and FEMA went underneath it as part of DHS. I think about those that were lost and the heartbreaking posters that you would see hanging up all over the city for so long. There were people on the streets holding up thank you signs to the workers that were out there. Initially, it was fairly quiet and low-key, and then as restaurants and other things started to open up, the city started to open up more. I mean, it was an interesting time to be there. It was rewarding because you felt like you were trying to help and do something. And the city kind of came to life. It bonded. As an American, you felt proud to be there. I think it's the one disaster. I've worked 100+ disasters in my time with FEMA, but this time it was really a national disaster. And that was the only time that I've ever really experienced that, where it impacted, I think, every single person in the US to some degree, and still does, 20 years later.